What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So the Motorfest does need work, but I do want to say hear me out. We all do know this game is probably not going to be in like the best place, having some issues a lot of players want. Like for example, the crew issues are a bad problem right now in this game. And I would say a lot of these things are most likely going to be fixed. Like the time I am recording this video, an update might even come out before it is going to even come out, but who knows, I would say a lot of the issues in this game are probably going to be plaguing it, and most players are kind of tired of it. Now, I do admit, though, I really do think Motorfest is going to be amazing, though, and we do know sometimes games, unfortunately, nowadays do have to take some time to improve. I'm also going to make more videos about that in the near future, but we do know, like, for example, Motorfest probably could have released in a better state, or at least being able to see a crew member is probably, like, the number one thing in a game that does say the crew. But I would say having that feature in there is probably like the number one thing. Now, the main reason why I do say hear me out, though, is I really do feel like Motorfest is going to continue to improve over time that it is out. We all do know many games nowadays, like even the Crew 1 and the Crew 2 before, did have its fair share of issues when they did release back then. Like, I'm pretty sure back in the day, the Crew 2 did not even have a summit on release. At least I heard it did not, but I got into that game a bit later after it did release. Like, I didn't play it on the release date, but I did know even back then the game did have its fair share of issues. And we also do know, like, the Crew 1 did end up having its problems as well. I would say the biggest saving grace in the Crew 1 probably was going to be the Wild Run update. That was absolutely insane, but if we are looking at Motorfest right now, I do understand there's a lot of things that could change in this game to make it better, and most likely make, like, the overall experience, probably a lot better for many players. And I also would like to know what you guys think is going to be the top 5 things this game really needs right now to make the overall experience that much better. I would probably say off the top of my head the number one thing is probably going to be the crew issues. And then of course maybe adding like more events and like more things to go after, like leveling up. And most likely give players a bigger reason to jump on the game every day, or like, adding daily challenges to where you can get money and XP that way. And one of the craziest things to me, though, is I really do feel like over time we are most likely going to see these things show up in Motorfest, but we're obviously going to be insanely early on in this game's life cycle, so, like, of course a lot of the things are not going to be in this game. That was also going to be an argument, like, in the Crew 2, like, oh my gosh, we have so many things we can do in this game, there's going to be so many things we can go after. And that was also going to be the fact of that game being out for over 5 years, and many updates like, the stories or like all the mad skills coming out afterwards. There was so many different things that you could do back in the Crew 2 that many players most likely jumped into Motorfest and they went, well, is that like it? Like, what else can I actually do? The Crew 2 had so much more content. Like, why would I jump into Motorfest when I can go back into that game? I do understand where you are coming from, because honestly at first I was kind of thinking the exact same thing. But right now I am having a great time on Motorfest despite some of the issues that are plaguing it. And I really do think after some time the updates in this game are going to be amazing. Like, for example, guys, I do admit Season 2 in Motorfest was so much dang fun. I had a great time running the Hoonicorn and, like, jumping into that new area where you could, like, drift around and, like, grind rails and, like, jump over all kinds of stuff was honestly awesome. And it does give me lots of hope of what they might end up adding in the future. And I'm probably going to guess and say I'm most likely going to be on the weird side of things saying this. I am really enjoying the Motorfest map over the Crew 2 map, which that is probably going to have a lot of mixed opinions on it, but I would say, guys, right now that a lot of players are most likely not going to want to spend another 3 to 4 years on the Crew 2 map. So the thing here was to most likely aim toward like a different piece of scenery, or like even a completely new place to race around in, and I would say they most likely did succeed pretty dang good at that. I would admit, guys, Hawaii is going to be a gorgeous map. Like, this game is really good looking. Now, I do know Motorfest is obviously going to be a lot smaller than the Crew 2 before, so I was not expecting that game to look nearly as good, but we can all agree Motorfest honestly looks awesome. Now, one of the big things here, guys, I really do feel like Motorfest is definitely going to improve over time. It is kind of sad that we most likely have to expect things like that, but I really would say after around maybe like 3 to 4 seasons in, we are most likely going to have a lot more events and like all kinds of different things we can most likely complete. That is going to be similar to many of the different chapters and updates that came out in the Crew 2 before. That was, of course, adding on to all kinds of different content you can mess around with. One of the things I would like to see personally in this game is probably a different mix of events. I do feel like I most likely speak for a lot more players. Like, where is the Rallycross and the Rally Raid events? As far as I know right now, there's only going to be one Rallycross event in this entire game, to where you are actually racing on an actual, like, off-road area. So I would love for that to actually be changed and, have more races to jump into. And that way you can actually mix around the gameplay a lot more. I do know right now there's going to be, like, navigation races and, like, all kinds of different playlists you can jump into. But I would say a lot of players are most likely looking for a bit of like a variety in the events itself, and I would say most likely a lot more of the playlists in the future are probably going to have this hopefully added into them. And then on top of that though, if a bigger map expansion does come out with like the other islands, we are going to have a bunch of new skills, events, and all kinds of places to explore. Most likely having like different monuments and stuff to go after, like, maybe different challenges like the driving milestones or like all kinds of new things being added to keep a player engaged. Now, I do understand right now to like a certain extent that many players might end up wanting to take a break, or they are most likely waiting for like more updates to come out with like more things to do, and most likely have like different vehicles to unlock and stuff like that. But I would say, guys, in the future, we are most likely going to see a lot of amazing things added into Motorfest. And I really do feel like right now it is probably going to be a bit slower. But overall, though, I have to admit, even though Motorfest is not going to be perfect, at least right now, I still am having a great time in it. And I really do feel like we're probably going to have some great updates in the future. That is most likely going to keep players engaged and also bring a lot more in. The only issue with that is, of course, going to be the overall timeline. I also cannot wait to see what they actually bring to us in Season 3, but we're also waiting on more information in that. I would say some of the number one things right now is probably going to be the crew problems. Like not being able to join a friend or even see a crew member is probably going to be a very big issue. Once again though guys, let me know what you think about this entire thing in the comments below. Let me know if it's like going to be your top 5 things you would like to see fixed right now, or like your overall number 1 pick you would like to see added, or even some fixes to Motorfest itself.